Awesome.
Okay, so hi again. Just to give you a little background on our project. So we are a group of high school girls that started this mental health initiative to address teen stress, something that doesn't get talked about a lot. And we hope through like series like these, telling stories about teen mental health, that we can just like educate and bring more light to it.
All
Oh,
right.
that's awesome.
Okay. So, for your first question, just can we like get some insight about you and like just tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as the 2023 Miss Park Cities?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Sweta Murthy, and I am Miss Park Cities 2023. But outside of my duties as a title holder, I'm actually a student at Indiana University, where I'm studying business economics and sustainable business. One of my dreams and long-term goals is to become Chief Sustainability Officer and manage sustainability at the company level. I've always been passionate about sustainability. I even gave a TEDx speech about sustainability and veganism. And so it's very much a cause that is closely held to my heart. But back in September, I was honored and humbled enough to earn the title of Miss Park Cities. And I was actually the first Asian and Indian American woman to become Miss Park Cities. And in July, I'll be competing for the opportunity to become the first Indian American Miss Texas, which is incredibly important because representation is important. But part of my duties as Miss Park Cities is having a social initiative and a platform. And my social initiative is concerned with AAPI mental health, more so focusing on teen and student mental health, because my mental health journey and my mental health struggles actually started in high school when I experienced anxiety because I felt like I needed to be the model minority. I needed to serve the expectations of others and be the perfect academic Indian American student at my school. And I thought all of my worth was based off of, my school rank and my SAT scores when really, you should be judged on who you are as a person and your values. But I never felt that way. And so I hope through my story, I can inspire, teens and young adults to embrace themselves and embrace their true self and not feel compelled to follow the stereotypes they've been confined by.
All right. So with this like story that you have, how do you think that this affects your title? Like, how do you think your mental health affects your title as being Miss Park Cities?
Before I became Miss Park Cities, I really went through a mental health journey of focusing on taking care of myself. I remember sophomore year of college, my anxiety got really, really bad during COVID. And I remember calling my best friend on the phone and just saying, "Oh my gosh, I cannot handle my anxiety. It's reached kind of its peak, and I don't know what to do." And she had experience with anxiety, and she's also Asian American, and so she understood, the pressures we were facing to be kind of the perfect, model minority. And she told me, hey, maybe you need to try therapy out. And that's when my journey through therapy began. And I really was able to unpack my anxiety that I experienced in high school and how it kind of manifested in college. And the reason why I'm able to be Miss Park Cities is because of the mental health journey I went through. I would not be able to confidently share my story about experiencing therapy, mental health, anxiety, if it weren't for that journey I went through. And so, therapy is just so important for strength and resiliency because, we all experience failure. We all experience those downs when, things don't work out. Maybe we don't get the score we want, or maybe we don't get the job or internship we want. And, you have to learn how to pick yourself up. And, therapy taught me that I can handle anything that comes my way. And that I am of value regardless of what people say about me or the accolades that I have on my shelf.
All right. So as we're like looking through your like social media, we know that you are an AAPI mental health advocate. So can you share like a little bit more about what that is and your involvement within that?
Yeah, so where this my social initiative began was with the model minority stereotype. So for those who don't know what the model minority stereotype is, the model minority stereotype, it sets expectations around Asian Americans to be, academically successful, but follow certain career paths. And this is something that I experienced during my time in high school. And so, and a lot of people and a lot of Asians feel bound by these rules, and this leads to a lot of anxiety and depression. And some of the facts that were really like really impactful for me was the fact that Asian American young adults are the number one demographic to commit suicide. And this is, incredibly disheartening because, as Asian Americans, we're kind of taught to be silent and be grateful for the things we have. And so we never feel compelled to talk about our struggles because, society thinks that we have everything, that we are, killing it career-wise, academic-wise. And so everything's, good and well up here when things are hard and things are challenging. And so, learning about these statistics and hearing not only about my peers' story and experiencing, some of the things my peers went through high school, but also hearing the stories of, younger Asian American students like you all has really motivated me to share my story, but bring light to this issue because, there's not a lot of awareness right now to the issue. There's a book called Minor Feelings, and it's a really, really great book about how we as Asian Americans kind of minimize our feelings, but also we're told to minimize our feelings by society. And so that's where all of my social initiative began, because I really want to bring awareness to this issue, especially in Texas. There's not many legal policies that protect AAPI individuals, and even nonprofits don't have a lot of AAPI mental health resources. And so I kind of want to advocate for that moving forward. Hopefully as Miss Texas, but I will continue to do that as Miss Park Cities.
Awesome. So, as you are a college student right now, almost graduating, how do you feel as though your coping mechanisms when you endure stress has changed over time from when you were a teenager in high school till now?
Oh, they've changed drastically. When I was in high school, I went through a depressive episode. I was anxious all the time. Anytime I would go to school, I did not feel like myself at all. And a lot of my coping mechanisms was just to shut off and go home, lock the door, and just study or just binge TV or just eat. And those were my coping mechanisms. I actually, in high school and a little bit of college, I wouldn't treat myself because I didn't think I deserved it. I would only treat myself if I got an A on a test, or if I got into a certain college, or if I got a certain internship or job. I never thought I was worthy enough to enjoy life or feel the joys of life. Like I would even postpone hanging out with friends because I didn't think I deserved it. And so a lot of my coping mechanisms were really detrimental to my mental health, my self-esteem, and who I was as a person. And then as soon as I started going to therapy, that really unlocked the fact that I am worthy and I am of value regardless of um, what grades I get, what job I have, the things on my resume. Like I am a worthy person and I deserve to be happy. And so now, like if I didn't happen to do well on a test, I still go out with my friends. Like I still enjoy life. I still do the things I love. And I've just really drastically changed as a person. And I've become someone who has valued me for who I am, and not how others perceive me.
So, as we know, you're 2023 Miss Park Cities. So, where did your pageant career begin, and how did that journey lead you to where you are now?
Yeah, it actually started all the way back in 2017 when I competed with the Miss Texas's Outstanding Teen Competition, which is actually the teen arm of the Miss America program. And so, being Indian, pageants are not normal within the Indian community. It's not something a lot of girls participate in. And so getting my parents to kind of recognize how it would be impactful for me was difficult first, because I had to communicate, hey, this is going to help me with my confidence skills. It's going to help me with my public speaking skills, my communication skills, my branding skills. And so once I communicate that all to my parents, they let me join. And I was actually Miss South Lake Teen, competed at Miss Texas Teen, placed top 10. And then I chose to take a couple of years off to focus on myself, my academics, and my mental health, and grow and mature as a person. Because a lot of competing for Miss Texas is knowing yourself really well and being your authentic self. And I think when I competed as a teen, I didn't really know who I was. And that's totally normal. Like as a teenager, you're trying to figure everything out. And so I'm glad I took that time to kind of focus on myself. And then I'm here back competing for Miss Texas in July. And it's one of the best decisions I could have made for myself, because the organization has given me a platform to speak on the issues I'm passionate about, like AAPI mental health. I'm able to talk to students like you with this platform. But I'm also able to grow and develop as a person. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful journey. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future with the Miss America organization.
All right, so I have one last question for you. So, as a strong individual Indian American woman and a mental health advocate, what would you say is your biggest advice or message that you would like to prevail for all the teens out there that are struggling with mental health issues?
My biggest piece of advice is to lean on your passions and follow the things that bring you joy. Growing up, I was told that I had to do certain activities or certain jobs or certain internships or go to a certain school. Oh my gosh, the list goes on, to be happy and successful. Even my parents, right? Our parents want the best for us, but sometimes they don't know what's best for us, because we are different from them. We grew up in very different circumstances. And so do the things that spark your interest, that give you light, that give you hope. For me, singing opera was always something that filled me with a lot of joy, and doing Western pop vocals was always something that brought me joy. But sometimes I felt compelled to do other things and other activities because it looked better on my resume. But at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your time, it's your career, it's your education. So do the things that inspire you and motivate you, because you are worthy, and you are someone that deserves to have a wonderful life on this planet. And so I would just encourage teens to lean on their passions and, of course, focus on their mental health, and their self-care.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Park Cities. Is there anything else you have to say, Audrey?
I actually have two questions. So would you like to talk a little bit more about like your opera? Like, has it helped your mental health, or just like anything about it?
Oh my gosh, I would love to talk about it. I actually started opera when I was competing for the Miss Texas Teen pageant. I This is such a funny story. I went through so many different talents to get to opera. Like I tried pop vocal, I tried Indian classical music, and nothing was hitting. Like nothing was sparking my joy and my interest. And it could show on stage, right? Like you can tell when someone is truly enjoying their time and truly enjoying their space when they're performing. And that just never hit. And then I started doing opera, and I started singing opera, and there's something that just clicked. And what I love about opera is that it's very challenging, and you sing in different languages, and it's technically very challenging. And I just love doing things that scare me a little bit, because that's when I can grow and learn, right? So I would also encourage you to do things that scare you, because that's when you'll look back and be like, I'm so glad I did that, because I'm a totally different person today because of that experience. But opera has definitely helped my mental health. Music in general is so therapeutic for me. I think for everyone that's different, right? That could be yoga, that could be martial arts, that could be dancing. And that's why I say lean into your passions, because, oftentimes that can be therapy for an individual, and opera is that for me.
Oh, I love that. Another question I have is you talked about how it's like you went to therapy. And so I have a question. So how did you like get into that? Did you have to get a push or did you like seek that out on your own?
So I would say it was an initial push for two reasons. First, because my anxiety got so bad that at some point, I was contemplating suicide. And, I never want that to happen to anyone, to get to that point where their anxiety or depression is so bad where they're contemplating that. So early prevention is always important. And second, my best friend gave me that push. She did it in a gentle way, but she was like, "Hey, Sweta, I think this would be good for you. I think you need to talk to a professional that will understand where you're coming from and offer a treatment plan and offer a plan of action." And then also I needed to get the buy-in of my parents, which I know that's very difficult to do. And surprisingly, my parents were supportive because I explained to them, like, I don't feel like myself. This is affecting my academics. This is affecting my daily life. Like, everything is so hard for me to do and get up and do every day. And so, once I started to go to therapy, it really, really helped me understand my emotions and manage my emotions, but also understand why I was feeling a certain way. And so I think therapy is just really, really important because it teaches you about resiliency and it teaches you how to get back up.
And that's amazing. Like I really do wish that like people just know that there's like resources and there's always help. And
Oh,
then kind of like it doesn't relate to it, but another question is, so you talked about earlier how um you always like treated yourself sometimes when it's like if you got like a good grade or like a good internship. But like those times when you didn't, how did you get over that hoop of, hey, maybe I didn't do so good, but hey, like I still want to go out with my friends?
Oh yeah. That happens a lot, in college. Things don't go well sometimes. Failure happens way more times than success ever will. So it's something you have to just accept about life is that life can be bittersweet. There's the bitter moments and then there's sweet moments. But how I got over that kind of mental barrier of, only treating myself when I did well in a class, or I got an internship, or I did well, or good feedback from my boss, was just accepting the fact that, regardless of what, other people perceive me as or the accolades I have on the wall, like that doesn't matter, right? The only thing that matters is how you perceive yourself and how you view yourself, because that's all you have at the end of the day. People's perceptions and the awards that you have are never going to be constant in your life. You are the only thing that's going to be constant. You and the thoughts in your head are the only thing that are going to be constant. So you have to learn how to appreciate and love yourself, no matter what things you have on your resume, or no matter what your parents think of you, or no matter what your friends think of you, or no matter where or what college you go to, because you have to recognize that you are worthy and you are important on this earth. And also remembering your purpose in life, I think, is really important because, even competing for Miss Texas, right? It's mentally challenging because, you have that crown at the end, but only one girl walks away with that crown. So for me, like, my purpose is to share my mental health story and help inspire other people to take hold of their dreams and their goals in a healthy way. And that's my purpose. My purpose is, not to win at the end of the day, because that's totally independent. I can't control that, but my purpose is mine. And so figuring out your purpose for life is really important. And it should be detached by, awards and what people perceive you as.
That's all I have. So,
All right.
There is one more thing I wanted to mention
oh yeah,
about
go ahead.
therapy. My therapist is actually Asian American, and I think that was really, really important for me to have because um, a lot of people don't talk about, therapist representation in therapy. But there's certain stories and experiences that I bring up that if she weren't Asian, that she wouldn't understand, and that would not help my mental health journey. So I encourage anyone who's seeking therapy to think about, the representation in their therapists. It's really, really important because there's some experiences that some people just can't understand, and that's okay. but having people that you can relate to and you can bond with, especially through a therapist and who will understand you and give you that space to understand yourself, is really important. But I just wanted to say that quickly because that's not something a lot of people talk about. And it's really made a drastic difference in me getting to know myself and being confident in who I am.
So I actually kind of have like a little spin-off question from that. So something I personally think that mental health is like very stigmatized in like the Asian American and Pacific Islander community.
Yeah.
And then especially with like Asian parents, it doesn't get something talked about a lot. So how did you get like your parents to overcome that barrier, and like were your parents supportive throughout the process?
Yeah, it was really, really difficult. The conversation I had with my parents was scary for me because I didn't know how they would react. The first fear of mine was that, if I came to them with my concerns about my mental health, they would immediately say, "Oh, you're just being ungrateful. Oh, like you have everything. Like what do you have to be sad about? Like you're going to a great school, you have a roof over your head, you have good food on the table. You have everything." And that's definitely a conversation that I've had with my parents before. That was not adjacent to mental health, but just me feeling kind of down. And it was actually a depressive episode, but I didn't know at the time. But for me, it was communicating, um, being really honest about how serious the feelings I was experiencing was. I could not do my assignments. I could not get out of bed. I was in a very depressive mode and I was just blunt and honest. But I also made sure to say, this is not your doing. Like this is completely my experience. Um, I just want your support and, letting me go to therapy and figuring out any emotions. And at that time, I honestly didn't know the causes or why I was feeling this way. So for me, it was just communicating, my experience with anxiety and depression. My dad happened to be supportive because I think he was at a place where he recognized the feelings I was feeling. He was actually an immigrant to this country, unlike many Asian Americans. And he actually underwent a lot of anxiety when he was applying for citizenship because he didn't know if he would stay in this country. And so we kind of bonded over that. But for me, it was just communicating the seriousness of the emotions and not putting any blame on them, or not making any assumptions of the causes of why I felt. And then they were really supportive. And a piece of it was taking action on my own to find a therapist, and take that action and be independent of my therapy journey, because at that point I was an adult. Like I'm responsible for my life. I'm responsible for my happiness and joy. So I think taking action is really important and being intentional about it. But I understand a lot of people need the support of their parents, and I did. Like I fully did. But I was just really, really honest with them without being defensive about how I was feeling.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say, like, as an Asian American myself, I think we really do need more individuals like you to like stand up for our community, because there's so many things that are like gone unnoticed or kind of like hidden or unknown that a lot of people really don't know about our our community. So we were really happy to interview you and learn more about your background so we can share your story, and I bet a lot of people would relate to it. So
No, thank you so much. I mean, I'm seriously so humbled and honored to be interviewed by you guys. I mean, you guys are the future leaders. This is not an easy topic to talk about. I know how hard it is, and I know the stigma that's associated with mental health, and especially being Asian American. Speaking on these issues is incredibly brave, and so I applaud you. You guys are doing important work in your high school, and I hope you continue this work through college and have these open conversations, because that's the only way we're going to destigmatize the issue, and hopefully people will feel more compelled to be open and seek help when they need it.
Yeah.
you can go ahead.
Okay, so just to like wrap things up, thank you again. But first, can we take your picture really quick for our Instagram?
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then two more little things to ask. So we usually like to do like a little like silly question or like silly fun fact or strong opinion about you. Some things we got is that someone was a strong mustard advocate or someone can do a funny Animal Crossing voice. So do you have anything like that for us?
Oh, I use 3 different hot sauces on everything that I eat. I use serrano pepper, I use red hot chili pepper, I use chili flakes. Like my spice tolerance has gone up and I'm not mad about it.
We love a spice queen.
I know,
Um,
I know, I know. It's so good. It's so good.
One more thing, since we are telling your story, one thing we would love to have is some pictures of you. It could be from like pageantry to your like your opera singing or like anything. We would really appreciate it. So if you could send it to us, that would be perfect.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I want to take a picture because I want to put on my social media. So here, like, okay, sorry. Oh my gosh, you guys are actually incredible. I'm like so
You're
impressed by.
incredible yourself, I might say. Like,
Oh, thank you so much. And I just wanted to say, like, I'm from Dallas, so if I would love to come speak to students at your school or do maybe an in-person event, I would like if you guys are open to that, I would love to do that. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
yeah, we are in the DFW area. So I don't know if you're ever free sometime, maybe we'll reach out. So that's
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, of course, of course.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much, Miss Park Cities. We really appreciated and really enjoyed interviewing you. So we might reach out to you sometime soon. So whenever you can, make sure to, send those pictures to us so we can like release your article and stuff like that. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you, thank
much for
you.
coming.
Yeah, of course.